Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly massive. We're unpacking a groundbreaking Harvard study that set out to answer one of the oldest questions in the book. What actually makes us happy? You know, we spend so much of our lives chasing these very specific big milestones, figuring that once we hit them, joy is just going to naturally follow. But spoiler alert, the data tells a completely different story. We're going to dig right into the science of the human mind to unlock the real secret to happiness. And I promise you, by the end of this, you are going to look at your everyday routine in a completely new light. So let's just jump right in with a question. It seems super simple on the surface, but the answer totally defies what modern society tells us. Think about it for a second. If you had to pinpoint the absolute single biggest predictor of how happy you are at any given moment, what would it be? For most of us, we've basically been programmed to give the exact same answers. We immediately jump to the usual suspects, right? We assume our happiness is locked into our income bracket, our relationship status, our physical health, climbing that career ladder, or maybe, finally moving to that dream city. Now look, I know what we're about to discuss sounds a little bit like the kind of folksy advice your grandmother might give you over a cup of tea, but we are absolutely about to bust the myth that these external circumstances dictate your joy, because the research, it shows that these factors are practically just details. Here is the striking truth straight from the data. Your happiness is entirely dependent on whether your mind is focused on what you're doing right now or if it's wandering off somewhere else. It literally boils down to this straightforward formula. Present equals happy. Absent equals unhappy. You could literally have the perfect house, the perfect partner, the dream job, the whole shebang. But if you spend most of your time mentally checked out and somewhere else, that somewhere else is actually going to make you miserable. Section 1. A wandering mind is unhappy. The 2010 Harvard study. Let's look at the actual science backing this up. Psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert wanted to test this exact idea. So they built a custom iPhone app that pinged 2,250 people at random intervals all throughout the day. And every time it pinged, it asked three simple things. What are you doing? What are you thinking about? And how happy are you? Over time, they racked up a staggering 250,000 data points. And from all that data, a completely mind-blowing number emerged. 46.9%. That is how often people's minds wandered away from whatever they were currently doing. Nearly half of their waking hours. And the absolutely crucial finding here was that whenever their minds wandered, they were consistently less happy than when they were dialed into whatever was right in front of them. And that held true regardless of what the activity actually was. To really grasp why this is such a big deal, we have to look at the math. A person's mind-wandering status, basically whether they were present or distracted, predicted about 10.8% of their happiness. Meanwhile, the actual physical activity they were doing only predicted 4.6%. This means what you're thinking about matters more than twice as much as what you're actually doing. Let that sink in for a second. The data literally says a person fully present while washing the dishes is measurably happier than someone sitting on a tropical beach whose mind is stressing over work emails. Crazy, right? Now, you might be thinking, well, hold on. Maybe people's minds wander because they're doing a boring task and they're already unhappy. The researchers actually thought of that too. Through some really rigorous time lag analyses, they proved that mind wandering is the actual root cause of the unhappiness. It's not just a side effect. As the researchers put it, it wasn't that people were unhappy and therefore their minds drifted. No, their minds drifted, and therefore they became unhappy. Section 2, the 98%, the ordinary moment problem. Let's bring this data into the real world. You see, we don't generally struggle to pay attention during the peak experiences of our lives. Nobody's mind is wandering while they're saying their wedding vows, or holding their newborn child, or getting a massive promotion. Those moments are intense. They command our attention naturally. But those peak experiences, they're incredibly rare. And that perfectly illustrates the real issue. Those massive peak experiences make up maybe 2% of your life. The vast majority of your life, the other 98%, is just an ordinary Tuesday. It's the morning commute. It's brewing your 10th cup of coffee of the week. It's folding laundry, or doing that exact same grocery run you've done 500 times. Mastering that 98% is what actually determines the overall quality of your existence. Because that 98%, that is where happiness actually lives. It lives in your ability to be fully present in an ordinary moment without secretly wishing it were something else. Genuinely content people don't necessarily have these extraordinary, action-packed lives. What they have is an extraordinary capacity to just be in the life they already have, right now. Section 3. Lessons from a Tuesday. The author's Saigon morning. This whole concept is grounded really beautifully by the author of our source article, Lachlan Brown. He shares a bit of his own vulnerability. He points out that he lives in the incredibly vibrant city of Saigon. He's got a thriving business, a family he adores, and a solid morning routine. Yet, he still struggles heavily with mental absence. He catches himself rehearsing conversations that haven't even happened yet, or writing emails in his head while his family is right there talking to him. Basically, he is the statistical average. So, to combat this, he implemented a very specific morning routine. He wakes up at 5 a.m., makes a strong Vietnamese slow-drip coffee, and takes it out to the balcony. He doesn't journal. He doesn't try to force some complex meditation. His one and only goal is to let his mind stay exactly where his body is. He just sits there and notices the completely ordinary things around him. The coffee cart ladies setting up down below, the street dogs stretching, the tropical sky shifting from black to orange. It's an entirely unremarkable sequence, but as he observes, that's what presence does. It doesn't make ordinary moments extraordinary. It reveals that ordinary moments were never actually ordinary. They were just unattended. Being present doesn't magically turn drinking coffee into the greatest thrill of your life, but it proves that these unattended, quiet moments are the actual substance of living. They aren't just hurdles you have to jump over to get to the good parts. Section 4. Just one ordinary moment. Your action plan. Okay, we're shifting from theory to practical application right now. The author explicitly points out that telling someone who is constantly distracted to suddenly meditate for an hour a day is a lot like telling someone who can barely walk around the block to go run a marathon. It's basically useless. So we're going to start incredibly small. Here is your highly achievable homework. Step 1. Pick just one ordinary moment in your day. It could be walking to your car or drinking that morning coffee. Step 2. Remove the artificial distractions. Put the phone in your pocket, take out the earbuds. Step 3. Simply try to be fully in that activity and notice when your mind inevitably wanders. And step 4. Gently bring your attention right back to the present. You're treating your attention exactly like a muscle you're trying to build. Now, I really want to reassure you about something important. Your mind is going to bolt, probably within the first 90 seconds. And that is completely fine. It doesn't mean you're undisciplined or failing. Your brain is literally built as a prediction machine. Its whole job is to anticipate the future and analyze the past. So the practice isn't about magically preventing the wandering from ever happening. The true practice is simply noticing that it wandered and choosing to bring it back. Let's wrap this up with the ultimate empowering takeaway. The single biggest predictor of your happiness is not your external circumstances. It's your attention. And your attention, unlike your circumstances, is something you have the power to redirect right now. You might not be able to instantly change your income or your career or the city you live in today, but you have absolute total control over where you place your focus in this exact second. So as you go about the rest of your ordinary Tuesday, I'll leave you with this. Which ordinary moment of your life have you been missing simply because you forgot to show up for it?